your host tonight. My name is Garrett Lang. I'm a software developer turned award-winning software inventor in North Jersey. I'm now a serial entrepreneur, and my hobby is writing and discussing practical philosophy, which led me to found and become the executive director of the Free Thinker Institute, which is the group that brings you tonight's event. We advertise to a lot of different meetups, but and not all of them were started at the right time, so we have a smaller group than usual tonight, and it was also advertised at kind of last minute. We had a rescheduling, but of another event. But basically, we're a not-for-profit looking to support and empower members to help us all be polite, the best version of ourselves, to seek truth and to be fair through transformational personal and professional development. We have free events like this one every Tuesday evening, covering a wide range of topics not typically covered in academia or industry. Tuesday evening, U.S. Eastern Time. I know we're a global audience, so we have people in Australia where it's the morning, and we have people all over the world. And then we have in-person events in North Jersey and New York City. So if anyone is interested in being invited to events in North Jersey or New York City, I'm going to put my email in the chat and feel free to email me and just tell me where you want to be invited and I'll invite you. We have only one rule in the FTI, and I'm going to ask everyone to follow it tonight, and that is to remain polite. That keeps us in the logical part of our brain, which is, I would argue, our highest self. If we get emotions coming up and we stop being polite, we get emotional. There's what's called an emotional hijacking, where your logical thinking stops and short circuits, and you start to do emotional thinking. And if it gets worse, it can be fight or flight, which hijacks even the emotional thinking. Um, we're going to try to all stay in the critical thinking part of our brain tonight, because I think that's the way to really get at the truth and what's fair is to think logically and with critical thinking. So the more you disagree with someone, the more you have to learn from asking them why they believe what they believe, which we call listening to understand. And by doing that, you understand the perspective of someone that you don't really understand already, which is what I'm going to be doing with Trump supporters. That was our original topic for tonight, but it got rescheduled to December 16th. So please come back if you are interested in that. Come back December 16th for talking about listening to understand with Trump supporters. So we will get to that topic um, with the whole event with a panel of Trump supporters. And if anyone wants to join that as a part of the panel of Trump supporters, just reach out to me via email as well. And Alan, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just not ready to talk if we're ready to
Okay.
talk.
Yeah, well, I normally try to
The,
set the
the
stage.
bubble. You want to set
You
it
know,
up? You can set it up. Go ahead.
yeah, well, I think that if you look at the history of technology, I think the biggest two inventions that have happened that created real huge economic value were the internet and now AI. And so, is there a bubble in valuations of certain companies because they're AI companies? Absolutely. Is it a bubble like the 2001 crisis where you had huge amounts of companies that had really nothing useful about them that were making tons of money? I don't think we're in exactly that same situation. The companies with high valuations in AI don't have profitability yet, but let's remember neither do Uber Eats, DoorDash, and Grubhub, and they're multi-billion dollar companies, decibillion sometimes. Um, and that, not excusing that, I think companies should be profitable, but I do think that the amount of real value that AI offers is huge. And there probably is an AI bubble forming in the really high valuations of things. But then at some point, when that crashes, there's going to be a lot of huge economic value left over. And I think AI is the new norm, just like the internet was the new norm in 2000 or 2001. So that's kind of my setting the stage. And Alan, I'd love to hear your perspective.
Yeah, I'm going to go along the same lines and talk about the internet. And the bubble burst in March 2000, right?
Mhm.
And one of the darlings was Amazon, right? And if you would have bought Amazon in January of 2000, $5,000, say, and you held on to it, you would have $1.8 million now, right?
Yep.
And there was a lot of part of what was going on with the internet is they were laying dark fiber, they were putting all kinds of infrastructure in, and it just wasn't ready for it yet, right? I mean, I remember selling things to people that made no sense at all when letting people go on the internet from work and stuff. But with AI, you can definitely already, it's not at the adoption curve yet. I think we're still well below the adoption curve, but you can definitely see how, this, the applications for AI are real.
Yeah,
Like, not AGI, not the stuff they thought, not ASI, not the singularity. Who cares about that? That stuff's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. But the ability to take this stuff and ramp up productivity on repeatable tasks is absolutely incredible.
yeah,
Decision maker, repeatable tasks, right? Um, and if there's a bubble, yeah, sure, it might go up and it might burst, but believe me, it just like the internet, it's going to just take off again
yeah,
as people adopt it, right?
yeah.
And I mean, just hold on to your stocks. I mean, I'm holding on to my Nvidia and my Alibaba, and et cetera, right?
Yeah, I mean, I forgot to mention, by the way, when you raise your hand, limit your comment or question to one comment or question at a time, which Alan did. Thank you for that. And limit it to less than 2 or 3 minutes. And then when you want to respond to what someone just said, you can just jump in, like ask a question, make a quick comment, but keep it to under 20 or 30 seconds. And that way we can have a conversation around the room with a large group of people. We stay on the topic of the person who raised their hand. And then when that dies down or we end up spending too much time on it, then we'll go to the next person if we have a lot of hands up.
Garrett, real
Yeah,
quick, I think actually just jumping on Sarah's question, the beginning of any philosophical discussion should begin with the definition of terms. So I think what we want to know maybe what do you mean by bubble?
yeah, that's a good question. Who wrote the question about bubble? I guess for
S-
me, go ahead.
Uh,
it was
I wrote
somebody
that question.
was wondering if it's like you mean like a balloon.
Well, go ahead,
Yeah.
Himanshu. If it was you that wrote it, explain what you mean by a bubble, and then I'll kind of share what I mean because I think that there might be we might want to if there's any difference.
So to me, bubble means a hype, and probably there is hype in the market in what AI can do and cannot do. The entire technology, from a technology standpoint, it's overrated, um, and it cannot do what it's being promised to do.
Got it.
So
So
just
I
like
would
the
I would
balloon,
look at it, I would look at it
inflated.
from the lens of economy, markets, geopolitics of AI, and also from a technology point of view. Because from a geopolitical point of view, uh, AI is supposed to create haves and have-nots in the world. So it's kind of a colonization that people talk about. From an economy point of view, you will have job losses and universal basic income. From a technology point of view, they say that it can automate everything, but I don't think it can automate anything. Um, there it can probably do some mundane task, but the real intelligence is something else. So I would also question the term intelligence, because intelligence is creativity, intelligence is ingenuity. So if the data is all the past data, it's not really creating anything. So I would look at it from all 360-degree perspective.
I just wanted to chime in really quickly.
Sure.
I and I just want to ask a question to the person that was just speaking, Himanshu. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that
Himanshu.
correctly,
Himanshu.
but something that you just said about creativity and AI. I was just recently listening to a podcast with Stephen Su. I think he's a physicist at Michigan State University, I think, and he was
Hey,
talking to.
Anderson, I don't mean to cut you off, but it sounds like you're starting a new topic.
No, no, it aligns. It just needs a slightly context to
No,
ask
no.
the
Well,
question.
Himanshu was describing what the topic of tonight is, and so all the people with their hands up have hands up to talk
Oh,
about
I'm
the topic
sorry. I
of
thought he
tonight.
was commenting and I wanted to ask him
No, no,
questions.
he was the person who wrote down what the bubble in AI was, so he was kind of defining the definition. So yeah, if you don't mind, but do raise your hand, Anderson, because I do want to hear what you have to say. I like where you're going, but I just want to do it in order so that everyone gets their turn. So thank you, Himanshu, for clarifying that. And Peter, let's go with you, and I'll raise my hand too.
Sure. So yeah, I'll try and limit this to be a little concise. So I definitely think there's value to AI tools, but I definitely think it's overvalued and overhyped right now. And that's in large part, I think, because there's an incentive for the AI companies to say that their product is going to change the world and all this, so people buy it. Since this kind of started, I've been skeptical about it. The one thing I remember pretty well is Elon Musk saying, and I just looked it up, it was in 2018, saying that AI was an existential threat to humanity and it could get like, it could hack into anything in a little while and we'll have Terminators or something like this. And that seemed like a very obvious attempt to just kind of stop it from happening so he could build his own thing, which is what he did. So, Grok happened under X, but it's been relevant in cybersecurity and IT because there's a question of, well, is it going to replace all the software engineers? This is a little bit niche news, but I guess Microsoft was hiring this company called Builders.ai. I believe earlier this year, and it was found out that they were saying their work was from AI, but it was actually a bunch of coders from India doing the work. So there's silly stuff like this happening. From what I can tell, and I'm not a hardcore programmer, it can't replace programmers who go into the deep end. It can do a lot of stuff that's more basic, but it can't do incredibly complicated things and create something, the next Facebook or something like this. But that's my opinion. It looks like that's about time, so I'll stop there.
So yeah, so I was, by the way, just by way of background, I was an AI specialist in computer science in my undergrad. I agree with you. It can't do the most complicated things, but it can do a lot, and it can do a lot of really, medium to high complexity, but not the ultra high complexity stuff. And it might even be able to do some of the pretty high up stuff. And that's now where we're just a couple years in. So I
Yeah.
think it could start to do those high complexity stuff pretty soon.
Yeah. Can I follow up one more comment
Yeah.
in the context of like cybersecurity and like this doomsday AI hacker thing? A lot, it's not like every computer is like Fort Knox either, like
Yeah.
some stuff is very poorly secured. And yeah, it could definitely solve that. And it will solve that for a lot of probably criminals who are just starting out. It's like, well, just have ChatGPT figure out how to get into the 10-year-old operating system and it'll do it.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, cybercrime, which leverages AI, has kind of tripled in the last year or two. Lubna might have something to say about that too. She's probably closer to it than I am. But yeah, it's people are using AI to commit crimes in a big way, and millions of dollars have been paid because people imitated someone using AI, imitated their voice and said, "Send me a wire transfer right away," at this account, and well, they did. So yeah, lots of cyber crime problems. These are all solvable problems in my opinion, but it does, it does require the will to solve them. Sunny, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. Good to see you again.
Okay. Yeah, so I agree with all the comments which Peter and everybody else said. The comment which I want to make is something I heard. So I'm not 100% confident that this is, I haven't researched it myself. Basically, this person was comparing AI to the way internet came into the scene. And there were a lot of people who put a lot of money into the internet and then lost the money because of it is kind of open internet, right? So they lost money in the same way. Similar kind of hype is happening with AI. I don't know how true that is. Maybe Garrett, you can
Yeah, I
chime
made
in.
that comparison in the beginning, and I do think it's a valid comparison in that there was a lot of hype about a new technology that was going to radically change the way people do almost everything, right? Think about what you don't do on the web today. It's, most of us shop on Amazon. Unfortunately, I'm trying to get off of that, but it's just so convenient that I'd use it. And even though I don't like their ethics, but I do think it's a very fair comparison, but I would say it's going much faster this time. I was selling internet in the 1990s and it moved fast, but it didn't move as fast as AI did. There are something like 3 billion people use AI on a regular basis. That's half the world, right? And that's like 3 years in. Like the internet didn't go that fast. So yeah, that I would say very similar, but much faster this time.
So Gary,
Right.
would it be fair to say then that the question is really easy to answer then and say that it's not in a bubble strictly from that
Well,
comment?
remember in the internet time we had the 2000 crisis, right? The 2001, it's called the 2001 crisis, I think, but yeah, I think it started in 2000. But like we had that internet bubble of IPOs, and you could literally
Yeah.
invest in any IPO and it would just rocket. Like, and I should have been day trading instead of going to college, but I valued I could have done both, to be honest. I just didn't do it. And yeah, so like there was a huge bubble there, but let's face it, the internet's here to stay, right? It's not going away anytime soon, or at all. And so I think it's very similar in that, yes, there was a big financial bubble, there was a big investment bubble, and the stock market might be seeing huge increases that are not sustainable in the short term, but our market is way higher than it was in 2001, so or 2000 before the bubble so burst. So yeah. So I'd say it's very similar and just going faster. Anderson, thank you for raising your hand. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm a big like make sure everything's as fair as possible. That's part of what we try to do. And I know you had a misunderstanding before, so because you thought we were in the Q&A or the conversation portion, but I'd love to hear what you had to say because I liked where you were going.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, so the guy's name is Stephen Sue, I think, and he was talking with a professor at I think UCLA. He's a math and I think computer science professor. And what they were talking about was the part of like how creative, are these LLMs? And they said what they did recently. I think this was the first time that this happened. I forget which LLM they used, but what they did was they actually so the way that they use that or so the way that the LLMs work is you have to train them on data. So like the LLM isn't really thinking, right, quote unquote. It's just using all its training data to like predict. So like when we talk about creativity or like truly understanding or truly learning, we are talking about something or someone, some mind that can kind of do some type of extrapolation where it's not trained on that data or like that information like it's new. And so that's what they looked into. So they gave this new LLM that just recently came out. I forget which one it was, but they asked it uh, math Olympiad questions and it was able to solve five out of the six. And it solved them. These were novel questions that the LLM was not trained on. And it's really important that it was not familiar with these questions. And questions pretty much come out, I think, like once a year, and they're very, very different, year to year. And the
Yep.
fact that this LLM could solve five out of the six questions at a gold level, I don't know if that means that it's showing true signs of creativity, but it's definitely progressing to something that is very different. This is the first time that it could actually solve, I think, any question and it solved five out of six, like at the gold level.
They were able to solve questions earlier. There were two LLMs that solved 5 out of 6, I believe. I may be remembering that wrong, but you're right. And the thing to remember is that LLMs are based on something called a neural net, which is actually like a simulation of what goes on in our brains with the firing of neurons. And because LLMs have gotten so used technology that uses so much data, it's starting to become reasonably comparable with the way that the human brain processes things. And you said, well, an LLM is trained on data. Well, so is the human brain. We have to get inputs to, if you have a human person that has no inputs, not very smart person, right? Like they can't do much if they have no visual, auditory, sensory, no inputs whatsoever. You're not going to be a smart person. You're not going to survive, quite frankly. Um, so yeah, that's just to put it out there that that's how LLMs work on neural nets, which are like the brain. So it's not shouldn't be surprising that they can do innovative stuff. And I think your point is good that they do. They already have, and they've also invented new polymers and new other stuff. But I'd love to hear what other people think. Is there anyone that doesn't think that LLMs, Himanshu, you were very bearish on the idea that LLMs could be creative. I'm curious what you think of all that, if I can put you on the spot.
Yeah, sure. So I feel LLMs are based on past data. So creativity is creating something new. So it's basically rearranging the past data to create something. Well, real creativity is basically doing something that is not done before.
Right, but he just described that these LLMs have solved mathematical problems that no one has solved before. So it's solving a problem that no one has solved. I give examples of LLMs creating entirely new physical materials that have never been imagined before by a human being. They were only imagined by an LLM.
Yeah, it figured out a way to do matrix multiplication too that had never been done before.
I need to learn about that. I loved matrix multiplication. Linear algebra was fun, except I'm really bad at the addition and subtraction part. Which it requires a lot of. Now we do computers to do that. So we use computers to do that. We did that too.
I guess I would be going off topic if I were to ask what is matrix multiplication?
So matrix multiplication is like when you have a higher dimensional space, like a three-dimensional object, you can kind of multiply those things. And so if you take a three-dimensional object and you want to make it two-dimensional, you would use like matrix multiplication to like project it onto two dimensions. And so it's used in things like physics where like you have a vector, like something going at a certain rate, and you want to like interact with another vector, and then you do matrix multiplication to find out the resulting vector. That's for three-dimensional spaces. But it's a little hard to explain in 30 seconds or less. Sorry.
Okay. Never mind. Thank you. I'll look it
No
up.
problem. If you go to like our event on higher dimensional spaces, that's like an introductory version. I came up with that. That was my first philosophical essay, and I came up with that based on my linear algebra background. So yeah.
Good Lord. Okay.
So it's a simple introduction to linear algebra. It won't explain matrix multiplication, but it will explain sort of what you learn from linear algebra in a very, like, I think, user-friendly way. So
Thank you.
Lubna, how are you?
Oh, well, thank you.
Good. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, how could I miss? So yeah, what a cool topic. I mean, uh, is it a bubble? I mean, what is it? Is it the technology, or is it our implementations, or is it where we're investing? And the implications of the above of all. So AI itself as a technology, it's there's nothing bubbly about it. It's been around for over 80 years, and it's really the evolution of automation anyway. And computational intelligence
Just
is
to be clear, Lubna, do you think that the practical implication to the average citizen of the transformer has been around for 80 years?
AI as a technology has been around for
Right. AI has, but
yeah.
the type of AI that we're dealing with using a transformer as its base, I think is pretty novel and new and differentiated from the type of AI that we used back in 2001 even.
Yeah, but is this conversation about the evolution of AI itself, or the
I
so
think
what
it's
of it?
mostly about the modern like changes in AI with the
Yeah, but
transformer.
my point is, so it's the so what of it, right? So now what does that mean? So as
Right.
it's evolving as a technology, but AI by itself is not just the thing. It's AI plus, AI isn't really that in its impact, right? It's when as it's implemented and integrated, because when in a system, it's using AI for something. It could be using robotics for something else. It could be using quantum for something else. It could be distributed for another component or not. So at the end of the day, how are we applying the technology, and where are we investing? Are we investing in those applications for in the technology in AI and friends? And we're using AI as a big umbrella to include machine learning and deep learning and blah 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 blah. So how are we? What applications are we dedicating energy to? Are they applications that are elevating the human condition, reducing challenges, or are they applications that are perceived to make more money, like defense, for example? And then there are ramifications of what that means as this computational intelligence develops more and more. As um,
Yeah, I think
um,
we're talking about all the different types of AI as in general, like, and so you can pick any
yeah.
one that you're
So,
interested
so
in.
but it's in combination. So the important thing is where we're investing. And so it's not what's a bubble is now we're invest anything that says AI on it, we think it's investable. So the bubble is in our thinking. We create these bubbles, and the technology is blamed for it. Um, so yeah, there is a bubble because people just slap the word AI to anything, worthy or not worthy. Um, there are not that many innovations that are advancing the technology itself that are being funded or not. That's most of what's funded is um, applications, vertical applications that are utilizing some form of AI, and they position it as an AI investment because that gets the better attention. So that makes
So what are
so,
some examples of AI that you feel like are overhyped?
well, I'm like one of some of the most like business intelligence ones that are companies. For me, it's not about where it's overhyped. I think it's overinvested in, which would be defense related um, AI, um, data extraction that intensifies surveillance and diminishing of human rights and your own individual sovereignty or autonomy or even freedom of thought. I think, and there are a lot of that. So I get very nervous when uh, when companies like OpenAI is going not only going fully for profit, but customizing in the name of localization. They're p- careful with such investments in limitation rather than in putting boxing your reach and access instead of enriching the pool with um, indigenous wisdoms and local knowledge.
To finish your thought, we're almost out of time.
That's it.
Okay. Um,
I babble.
okay. That's why we have
It's
a timer because we all
multidimensional,
do.
right?
Now you're not the
It's
only one. I
it's
do too.
because
So
it's multidimensional, and it's really about the
it
decisions we're
is.
making.
It is, and I
You
agree
know.
with you that we make the bubble. Like I think that there is a bubble in terms of valuations of companies, and it's hard not to because I think the real tangible benefits of AI are incredible. The things that it
Mhm.
can do are incredible. If you look at what OpenAI can answer as a question, like it just answers so many questions. It's like a magic box, but it can't answer true every question that is true, no matter how smart it is. Like we did an event on this, nothing can do that. So no discovery will ever be able to do that, even a million years from now, even if you have perfect science, it can't answer true every question that's true. That's scientifically impossible. So, other people have questions or comments on Lubna's question? All right, then we'll go to Ellen.
Oops. Yeah. I'm going to bring up creativity. I think, unfortunately, and not for anyone in the room here, but I think that most people in their entire life never have a thought that hasn't been thought before. Right? They never have a thought that hasn't been thought before. The people that are truly having original thoughts, we can probably name, on one or two hands. Right? And the that was my cat. And the rest of us, are just drawing upon, the thoughts of others. So if that's what this is doing, it can probably do the vast majority of jobs that people are doing, even the creative ones, which isn't a good thing, but it is what it is. And when, we're talking about, I'm in information security, and there were two things that I saw recently. So this week, Anthropic, one of the AIs with Claude, detected a fully autonomous hack into they didn't say which organizations or which governments, but it was a fully autonomous hack that it looked like the Chinese were doing, and they used the public domain, the public LLM to do this, and just broke it down into small chunks, and it got through the system. But so to say that it can't do stuff and fully autonomously is a misnomer. And I also was reading about hackers using these things. So a hacker would normally have to take 6 months to recon websites, right? Recon websites. Well, a hacker used this, and in 2 weeks, reconned and wrote code to hack into 15 different companies.
Yeah. So the hack from China was not fully autonomous, but it was 80 to 90% autonomous. But that's still like a huge, huge step from where things were before. And it means that, these things are being used for nefarious purposes. I guess when you say that no one has had an original thought, though, I kind of take a from maybe it's because I've had people say that to me. I've made my career as a software inventor, so I'm an inventor. I have to have original thoughts or I have nothing. And I guess, I've interacted with and worked with a lot of people who helped build up, ask thoughtful questions and, either had good ideas that I leveraged or that, had problems that I was able to turn into new solutions that created kind of original ideas. So I don't know, maybe
I
you're
mean,
right.
you might be connecting dots, Garrett, and then
Yeah,
acting on it,
right,
which in itself, right? I mean, Steve Jobs, right? None of those things were his inventions, but he connected the dots, put it together,
right.
and acted on it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think I actually came up with completely original
Well,
ideas, believe it or not. So,
like I said, everybody in this room has an original thought, so
right.
it's the other people out there,
It might be true. But like, um,
right?
but yeah, I actually when I look at what other people when I've like taken over other people's product roadmaps and I've seen what they've done in the past, I kind of now that you mentioned it, even people who are supposed to be software inventors, I think often they do lack original thought. So I think you might have a good point there.
Can I make a comment to
Yeah,
that,
of
Ellen?
course.
So I know a lot of this is I'm going out on a limb here because I know a lot of us on here are either agnostic or atheist. But for me, I just I think original thought comes from something like spirit. And I know that to me is I've seen that because I am part of like a more spiritual world as well. I watch mediums and I've actually done medium courses, which I know everybody's like, oh, they're fake, they're fake. But I've seen some pretty incredible stuff, like even in small groups. So for me, I feel like there is a something coming from somewhere. And I do believe that when people talk about, having thoughts that are original, that even if they're coming, I guess they would be original when they come through us as channels, but they are still possibly coming from spirit. And that's all. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we did the logical defense for spiritualism another day. It was a follow-on to I think we did that. I don't remember if we did actually. But it's a follow-on to the free will argument, like when I defended free will, which was our most well-attended event. But if we didn't do that, I'll look up on YouTube if we did or not. If we didn't, then maybe I should. But it does get very,
That's
very
crazy.
spiritual, and a lot of people are atheists or agnostic and don't want to believe those things, and that's okay. Like, I don't
Yeah.
actually think, even though I
So
believe in a higher power, what's that?
you can believe both. Yeah, I think they're not mutually exclusive. I think you can believe both. You could be both atheist and believe in spirituality. But and actually,
I
Sarah,
like
if you're
that.
familiar with panpsychism, which is the hot thing right now, panpsychism actually aligns with what you just said. So
What is it? Pen psych?
uh,
Panpsychism. It basically says that
What
everything
is
is
that?
sentient. But I
that
kind of,
the consciousness is a fundamental
Never
part of
heard that.
the universe, not just human beings. Yeah.
but it kind
Oh,
of says
wow.
that
Okay.
a rock is sentient too. Like that's
Mm,
No, actually, not sentient. Conscious. There's a difference.
conscious. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that
okay.
it has
Uh,
a spirit,
yeah.
basically.
A good way of looking
Makes
at it is
sense.
how the illusion that your laptop actually has faces and you can hear sounds, but it's coming from Wi-Fi. So it's kind of the same thing in the sense that we potentially could be all our thoughts and consciousness could actually be
Right.
in
Oh, yeah.
Wi-Fi from the entire universe or somewhere, but
The
it's not coming from
collective, the conscious
its
collective
consciousness is
kind
not
of.
coming from our brains, which would explain a lot of
Right.
Yeah, and I
beliefs.
don't think it's coming from our
Right.
brains. I think it comes from our spirit. It's just that for me, that spirit is a non-physical thing because if my essay defending free will is right, that there has to be something non-physical creating non-deterministic decisions and steering them. And so to the point of Himanshu, like about saying, is this creative? I think it can do innovative things. It can act very creative, but it will never have a spirit the way that a human being
Sure.
has a spirit. So even if it can simulate humanity, which it does, it's been shown to be seen as more human than humans in customer support, based on a research study. It seems very human to humans, but
Mm.
it doesn't have a spirit, and that's why, in our event on the dangers of pseudosentient AI, I basically said, let's hope no one ever creates an AI that thinks it's sentient, because if it does, we're all kind of screwed because it'll be 1,000 times smarter than us. And think about how we treat something 1,000 times less smart than us, like a cockroach. Well, that's how it would look at us as humans, this sort of pseudo-sentient AI. So I very much warn against the building too much in that direction.
Yeah.
Garrett, can I just say something
Yeah,
about the original thought?
yeah,
Yeah,
of
so
course.
I strongly believe that we do have original thought because I remember a season where this is before way back. I would say something and say, "Oh, that's similar to so and so who said that." I said, "What? Who's that person?" I have no idea. And then I look it up, and lo and behold, it's true. So in that sense, was it an original thought?
It's a great
It
question,
came from
Sonny.
me, right?
Yeah.
So,
That's
I
called
mean, just
independently
because it,
inventing something, and that happens to me all the time. I
right?
independently invented utilitarianism, and then I learned about utilitarianism. I'm like, oh, this guy had it like
There you go.
400 years
There you
before
go.
me, 300 years
Right.
before me. And then I think I riffed on it and improved on it, but that's another story for another day. Um, so, yeah, Sonny, I kind of agree with you, but there's also this hypothesis that these things are pervasive in our ecosystem. And so when you came up with that thought, we're standing on shoulders of giants is what it's called, where, that thought was already pervasive in society and you picked up on it. But if it's something that you had no interaction with in any way, shape, or form and you came up with originally, then it's an original thought that you independently invented.
Or you can look at Carl Jung's work, who talks about the collective consciousness, the creative, meaning the universal consciousness and creativity, which explains why, some people could have an idea in Japan and then have that same idea totally on the other side of the world at the same time and with no connection whatsoever. So anyway, but I wanted to continue talking about this AI bubble thing.
Please.
So I was thinking about how with the internet bubble one, the technology was like the internet. That was the technology. But then there was all these companies like Amazon, like Google, that were using that technology and were a really good product. And whether they're at first people didn't believe in it or they overinflated or whatever, they still continued and they became what they became because it's a good product. And I'm thinking with AI, what's different here, I think, that there's only like two or three companies right now who are really feel like they've got it figured out, like OpenAI and Anthropic and maybe Google, where it's really the company and the product, not really the technology. And I'm thinking, I may be wrong, but I'm thinking maybe all the companies that are taking advantage of it, is that the ones that are overinflated? Is that the ones we're talking about? Like a company would say, okay, we're going to use AI to create this new product that will do X, for example. And people are like, yeah, maybe not. But I feel like OpenAI does everything. And that's really the only one. And I don't think that's going to be a bubble for OpenAI. I don't know.
I
That's my
think
feeling.
NVIDIA, OpenAI, Anthropic, or well, uh, basically, if you compare the two in the internet days, the equivalents of OpenAI and Anthropic were like the people laying fiber lines, right? It was the foundational stuff. OpenAI, Anthropic, etc., are the foundation. Now, what you're seeing, and normally what would happen is there would be apps built on top of that, like Midjourney, which is, originally was the first like best picture, text to picture thing, and then you had Google invent Sora, which is building, their own great like three-dimensional creation from a prompt on top of their base
Mhm.
model. But now you're seeing the people who create the base, it would be like the Fiberline people creating the internet service providers, which in the 1990s I did sales for an internet service provider. Well, we were a small business, and all internet service providers other than AOL were small businesses back then. But what ended up happening is the internet, the foundational guys, the ones that laid all the fiber, like Time Warner and Verizon, decided they wanted to play in that internet service provider game. And they moved up the ranks. And that's exactly what's happening much faster this way is you have the base models, which are OpenAI, Anthropic, et cetera, and NVIDIA as part of that base model, moving up and starting to build their own apps on top of their own platforms to sort of keep people in their ecosystem so they can make more money. Does that make sense as a
Mhm.
comparison?
I think so. Yeah. Kind of. It's still a little complicated as to what the underlying technology is versus what's the company that has a specific product that
The
they're
lines
selling.
are
I
getting
feel
very
like they're all
blurred
together.
now. Yeah, the lines are very blurred now
Yeah.
because the AI-based platforms are in themselves products, but they're also products on top of which other products were built. And so you have things like Replit, which is built on top of Claude that builds software, right? That's a pretty amazing piece of software. And, like you have you have other companies that are building pretty amazing pieces of software on top of the
Mhm.
base companies, but those base companies want to compete in those places. So like, yeah, it's just like what Amazon did. Amazon originally created a marketplace for other people to sell stuff. Well, then what Amazon did is they started looking at who's making the most money and they competed with them on their own platform with not having to pay platform fees, which by the way should be something that gets monopoly busted, but since no one's busted a monopoly since pretty much the 80s more or less, like no one's going to bust that monopoly. And so Amazon gives itself an unfair competitive advantage with everyone that's trying to sell on it. And so that's what we're seeing happen much faster here. And it's harder to recognize because the lines are blurred about who's creating what product and what is what. But that's what I think a tangible, analysis of what's happening is.
But I think we could maybe agree that the actual technology, just like the internet continued because there was clear that it was a good thing. AI
Yep,
will continue.
correct.
Just that which company is going to create the greatest product and become a good.
And are we going to break those monopolies up so that they each do one thing and so that there's not an oligopoly of AI companies where there's only three companies and suddenly Amazon is gone, and I don't mind necessarily Amazon being gone, but like, like what OpenAI is doing is allowing the shopping experience to be done in OpenAI, and they're using PayPal for that, right? Which PayPal is a very unethical company. So, um, you know, I would like to see the generous capitalism sort of take place and have the more ethical companies win out. But we have a lot of hands up, so I'm going to stop going back and forth. Anyone have other comments on Carl's point?
I was going to say NVIDIA has what they've also done is they have a whole bunch of development tools. Like CUDA is a development platform that all these guys write on. And it's not just that they have like fiber and some basic stuff like that. They're enabling this stuff in a big way. I mean, they have edge boxes now that you can run an LLM on that you can put in your car
Yeah,
if you knew how.
yeah.
Anyway,
There are many
yeah,
ones that you can put on your phone.
yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. This stuff can run very locally, and yeah, I want to let Peter go. Go ahead.
Yep. Yeah, this is kind of on the same topic, but I definitely think there are different parts and different uses of this will have different levels of value. For me, and maybe someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like historically there's been a lot of bubbles, especially related to stocks and things like this. And my kind of gut feeling, and I could be wrong, is that when you see something like that, there is overvaluation just because of the way that that system is set up. That being said, yeah, like blockchain, websites, AI, they'll all be useful and there'll be new tech tools for quite a while, I would think. And there's different, like there's a lot of slop with if you take blockchain, where we don't need another meme coin or scam coin or something like this, but there's good ideas that you can use with the tech, like tying it to an inventory system where you have this history of where this thing is going and you get more accuracy. And that's a novel idea and a good use of it. I think there's definitely different values for things like using machine learning for medical data and information security and like firewall and things like this. Those seem to be slam dunks, I guess. But things like video and voice, I'm not sure yet what the point of them is besides making society worse. Or creating some kind of 1984 society where North Korea can make all their propaganda, make deep fake video and audio. And then if someone speaks out, you make deep fake video and you frame them. And this, maybe I'm naive and all the companies will start using deep fake video like this, or we'll have movies like this, but it doesn't seem like I don't see it happening. But yeah,
You don't see what part happening, Peter?
like the adoption of voice and video everywhere. I think it's used a lot right now, but most of the use I see it as just random slop on social media and all this,
Yeah,
and also scamming people. But
yeah, I think it's used for those things, but as a person that's using AI every day on work, I built normally, I built 8 1-minute videos, production quality within a 1 hour marketing meeting. I mean,
yeah,
each one of those would normally take $3,000 to $6,000, and this is an objective number from an executive that was a CEO of a Fortune 5, I think it was a Fortune 1000 company, probably 500. And I
mm-hmm.
asked him how much he thought it would make that video. Cost me $25 a month, and I made all eight. And
Yeah,
normally that would be three to six
yeah,
thousand dollars a video. Um, that's real productivity. And no one has talked about the bubble of 2008, which I find interesting because to your point, Peter, like not all bubbles are real productivity, and that one was not. it was a housing bubble, and it wasn't based on real technological innovation. It was based on greed and fraud, where, realtors were basically being, fraudulently propping up people's income so they could buy houses they couldn't afford, which increased the housing prices everywhere. And so that was a fake bubble. Now, that's part of why I think it was so much harder to recover from, because there was no real economic growth. But it was also, I think, government intervention, was supposed to help, but I think it actually hurt the recovery, and the pace of recovery, to be honest. I think it would have been better to leave that to the free markets, but that might be a free market
Yeah.
conversation, Peter, where we may agree. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's another
Yeah.
topic for another day. So,
If
Yeah.
someone had told you though, like in 2000 about social media and TikTok and this is going to be all the rage, I think you would have looked at it and went, "You're
yeah.
insane.
No,
People are
absolutely
going to
would
do
have.
that. What people are
Yeah.
going to be on a phone doing that all day, swiping their
Yeah, that's
no
true.
way. There's
Yeah.
no way." And we're like 2 years into this stuff, and there's already AI psychosis.
Yeah.
Like people are
There is.
already becoming totally addicted to this stuff. I mean, this is just the beginning. If you want to, I mean, that's the bubble that I'm worried
That's
about.
that's without the AI boyfriends and girlfriends type of thing and the other stuff, which I'm
Yeah,
not going to go into more detail because my daughter's here. But I'm just saying, besides all that, like without all that, because they're only now going to release that open AI is going to start doing that. Apparently, Grok does that and allows it with minors. Like even the adult stuff is allowed with minors. That's what I read today. I don't know if that's true or not. I didn't fact check it. Giving the disclosure there. So fact check it before you share with anyone. Um,
I just took my hand down because I wanted to talk about an incident using an AI, and I don't want to talk about it while your daughter is here. So
right.
it's because it's very sad.
Yeah,
Anyway,
she'll go to the other room so that we can talk about it. You can put your hand back up,
no,
Jenny.
no, no. Yeah, yeah,
No, it's
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So come
No,
back in
like
10
keep.
minutes, honey.
Wait a minute. Where is she
Okay.
going?
She's fine. It's
We
fine.
kicked her out of the room so you can speak. Jeannie, go
I
ahead.
did.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
so
she's in
because
the dome of silence.
yeah, I was thinking about the friendship that teenagers, for instance, are developing with AI. And this teenager,
yeah.
17-year-old, a couple of months ago, who committed suicide, and AI sort of encouraged him to go ahead and do it, you know?
So it
He,
didn't encourage him, but what it didn't do is it didn't take the appropriate steps that a human would do when they heard something like that. Although there are humans that would have responded like the AI, so I don't want to act like there aren't humans that would. What he did is, and I read about this pretty carefully because I follow AI news very carefully. He basically said, "Well, I want to commit suicide. What's the best way to do it?" And it first said like, "No, you shouldn't do that." But then he said, "No, this is what I want to do." And he basically pushed it. And when you push AI, it will generally agree with you, whatever you say. And he said, "I want to find a painless way to kill myself." And so it gave him, and then he like said, like, "Well, where are the highest bridges to jump off?" I forget the exact, he asked for like tangible, like he had a plan for suicide, which is when there's a big red flag. When someone has a plan for suicide, that's a big red flag. And AI did not flag it the way that it should have. So I do think that companies like OpenAI should be liable for things like that because it makes them responsible for, the big companies that have the resources to deal with it should be liable for it because it makes them have to deal with the compliance issues that come up in those situations. So it didn't exactly encourage him, but it helped him do it. It didn't encourage him to do it. Does that make sense, Jim?
no, no, yeah, you're right. It didn't encourage him to do
Yeah,
it, but he certainly
it
didn't
enabled it.
enabled it, or
Yeah,
it didn't discourage him from doing it, you know.
right.
But
And
what
it
about,
Uh,
should,
yeah.
there
I
should
mean,
be like
or
a,
something like, should I talk to my parents about it or something? And he
right.
didn't, he said, you don't have to, or something to that effect. If I remember that, if we're
I don't
talking about the
remember that part.
same teenager, if
Hmm.
he was 17-year-old
Yeah, it was
teenager.
a 17-year-old. And I think we're talking about the same one. I don't remember it like not saying that he shouldn't talk to a parent. I think it would probably say, yes, you should talk to a parent about it. I would be surprised if it didn't. Um,
Right, right. But it
but
didn't, yeah,
it's
yeah.
not a perfect therapist, and they are trying to improve it to be a good therapist. And it is like it has helped a lot of people in therapy, like especially people who feel like therapy is should be demonized, which I think is absolutely wrong. Like I think there should be nothing wrong with going to therapy. That's a way that you heal yourself. But using ChatGPT for therapy is very, like people who think that therapy is a bad thing to do can use ChatGPT and feel like, okay, I can at least, talk to this machine and see what advice it gives. And it's given pretty good advice when I gave it philosophical quandaries. I'll put a quick plug in, and I haven't done this yet. So I'll put a link in for the FTI because I'm not good at self-promoting. But then I want to put a link in for in this actually learn more about the FTI. And in this document I'm sharing, there's what's called the FTI chatbot, or wait, what is it? The Better Decision Spot is what I'm calling it, and it helps you in any ethical situation decide how to make a better decision.
So I just wanted to follow up on the
Please.
conversation about this case. Um, so I don't know much about it, but it seems one very likely that the bot or like the one that this person was using was probably like jailbroke. And I think that so like you can like jailbreak the AI to make it actually do things that it's mostly been programmed not to do. But also like I think it's a slippery slope to have the company, be liable because I don't think that the AI like went in the person's room and then locked the door and then like drug them and then put the gun to their head.
Well,
Um, so I
that
think that
Anderson, go ahead,
but
finish your
because
thought.
there's a bunch of ways that you can try and put culpability on whether it's video games or music or movies uh and I think it becomes a very um you know slippery slope to put blame on them because of this. It just seems like there needs to be uh deep understanding that these systems are not for people that are vulnerable in that way, and people just need to be responsible. Um, I mean, we are literally developing software that could potentially, like, it has the ability to um, give the secret sauce to create, biohazard nuclear weapons to pretty much anyone on the planet.
Right.
Um, so I th so like these are this is a very this thing has like a very high ceiling for the amount of harm that it can do. And I think people just are not taking it seriously. So the fact that one person, committed suicide, I think people are kind of paying attention to the wrong thing. I think it's just that these systems are they're very dangerous, not that it's, actually culpable for someone that probably had issues, committing something that's, horrible. But
Oh, I'm
Who
not saying that the AI was culpable. What
I
I'm
said that,
saying,
Jenny. I said it. I said it. I
oh,
said it
okay.
should be
But
held
what I'm thinking
responsible.
is that
Yeah.
it to me it's alarming to me because the kind of closeness and friendship that children are developing with AI. So how can I mean it may be intervention, careful intervention and by their parents, just to kind of monitor how they're using their AI. I don't know, it's a very broad and complicated way of going forward, dealing with AI, but we need to be able to use it in a positive way and just be aware that, that it could be detrimental or harmful if not if it, it's we just I think that every parent out there just need to be more careful and just monitor or just be observant of how their children are developing, evolving,
I don't think it was unique to him being a child. I think the same thing could have happened to an adult, and that's why I think they should be considered liable if they have there are already internal memos from the person who was part of AI safety at OpenAI that quit because he felt like they weren't paying enough attention to safety, and he just said these guys are brushing this all off like it's not important because there is no liability today. You said a couple interesting things, Anderson. You said that these systems shouldn't be used by vulnerable people. Are you saying that people who are suicidal shouldn't use AI? Is that
no, no,
what?
no, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that society just needs to understand that these systems are that they can be, very dangerous. And it's not that
Yeah,
we need to like the onus or the responsibility should be on the person, I think. Like it should be on the person. Same
Well,
thing for driving a
then your
car.
example of bionuclear hazards, right? What if AI could teach someone how to create a virus that just eliminates all life on Earth, and that person has that ability, and OpenAI didn't put the safety precautions to not get that into the hands of someone who is an antinatalist, for example, which says we should eliminate like they say we should eliminate all life on Earth because it will prevent all suffering. I think that's a whole misunderstanding. But that person, if there's no one creating an AI safety program, and if there's no financial liability for not creating an AI safety program, guess what? No one's going to have an AI safety program. So in the very example you gave, you're basically ending life on Earth because you're saying there shouldn't be a prioritization of an AI safety program.
I
No, so
think
the
this is a
safety,
two.
well,
Let me
just to be,
let's let Anderson respond to that because that was a
yeah,
big.
just to clarify the point, I think that the safety protocols should work in the way that I think they're working now, where it just works on a broad, like on a broad level. It's not focusing on that one individual, but it's, yeah, we need to, like, there are things that are very clear and, definitive that we need to make sure, okay, the AI uh, does not let, people do this thing here. Those lines I think are very bright and very clear. But then when it comes to, having a conversation about suicide, um, or something like, maybe like euthanasia or something like that, I think that the guardrails or the security there should be much more lax.
So would you say that if someone asks an AI, what are the best ways for me to kill myself? Is that a bright line or is that an area that you think it should be lax?
I think that that should be laxed because the context matters, and it just
What if
doesn't
it
have context.
what if it has the context of knowing this is a depressed person, they go through manic depressive episodes and this just happens to be one of their down moments and they're asking how do I kill myself, painlessly.
Can I jump in?
So then I think in those cases that the expectation should be what the expectation would be for if you're speaking with a person. So if you say that to a random person on the street, most people would probably say, well, don't do it. But if you say that to someone and they're an asshole, they might just be like, okay, then just go do it. And if you do it, I don't think it's on that person. That person is not going to be liable for it. So I don't think the AI should be.
Let me let Sunny go and I'll
Can,
look
Yeah,
back.
can I give
I think
can I,
both of
no, go
you,
ahead.
yeah, I think both of you are in agreement, in my view. Let me explain what I mean by that. AI is a game changer, that's for sure. Yes, we need to have safety, better safety, and all that. True. But you can never create it to a level of a divine status. If you do that, how much of a safety protocol you do, you will always see it falling short. And to what Anderson is saying is that humans in general can create AI to be a divine status. It will never replace a human touch. It's almost like saying, you can get counseling, from AI. Well, you can get some good information, but never a therapist's touch, face-to-face interaction. So, so both are trying to create it into a divine status. That's what I have to say. Thank you.
So I do want to clarify a misunderstanding, Anderson. There is legal culpability in the situation that I just mentioned. I'll put the ChatGPT fact check on there. But there is criminal liability if you assist, aid, or encourage someone that's in suicide. And so that is technically illegal for a human to do too. I think it should be illegal for an AI company to do the same thing for the same reason.
Can I put some of this in
Please.
perspective?
Please.
Full disclosure as a Canadian.
Hmm.
For you guys down in the South, if you can't stop selling AR-15s, high capacity magazines, not doing background checks, I don't know what chance you think you're going to have in stopping this. I have no idea what chance you think you're going to have if you
Ellen,
can't
some
if
of
you
us
can't
are
stop selling
optimists,
guns.
and we think, and
I know.
this is the exact
Okay.
debate that we have about guns, right? And I just think, people, if they want to kill 30 deer in like 3 seconds, they should be allowed. Oh wait, maybe that's not necessary, and maybe we don't need high magazines for hunting. But I
Yeah.
hear what you're saying, Ellen, but That's part of why we're having
I
these
mean,
conversations is to
yeah.
learn from each other, right?
You'd think guns are low hanging fruit, though.
Well, unfortunately, because of the NRA, which is opposed to
Yeah.
all the things you just mentioned, it's not low-hanging fruit. I think someone's got to build the relationship with the NRA folks and say, look, you know, uh, if someone is mentally unwell, why should they be allowed to get a gun? Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, they could kill themselves, they could kill other people. We've already seen that they've done it. All of this is known quantity. But this tonight's not about gun control. We had
Yeah.
another event on
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
where I
Yeah. It was
basically,
just a
yeah.
perspective. It was just,
No, I get
putting
it.
it in perspective.
I get it, but I think, it's different because you don't have a big lobbying organization built up against, like humanitarian use of AI. And so I think it's a different topic, even though I understand why you're
Yeah.
trying to connect them.
Not yet. I'm sure there's going to be people wanting to give them
Lucky.
give AI rights. Anyway, I'll stop. Right.
No worries. Anyone else have stuff on that topic, or should we go to Lubna? Lubna, go ahead.
Oh, I don't know. I had so many things I wanted to react to,
Choose
just to
one.
react to
Choose
them.
one. Oh,
Yeah, so
reactions, you can go on and like the reaction.
yeah, no, like I think when I first said look about original thought, and maybe some of that ties about responsibility. I mean, yeah, we need to all become more responsible and informed. But if you exonerate, which is one of the biggest problems I have when we talk about AI, the future of work, you see, we're replacing emphasis on the work and not the worker. Or that we say AI is taking jobs. AI isn't doing anything yet. But it is us or the human who's choosing to redirect investments. And at some point, we're going to realize that AI requires a lot more investment or energy than to do tasks than humans do, particularly on those lower level jobs. So I think if AI is fit to replace jobs, it's a much more serious, someone who makes 80 million or something to bring a company into the ground and
You
then
just
be bailed out.
You just gave me an idea, Lubna. AI
Yes,
for
sir.
president. AI for
I'm
president. Jenny
telling
says
you.
Garrett for president, so I'm going to say AI for president. I think he would do a better job than probably
Hell
either of
yeah.
the last two presidents. And in fact, I've used AI in a lot of the presentations I've given on various topics that were politically related, and I used it in my research. But with human directors.
AI as God too, right?
I don't think
Yeah,
AI is God, and I was
but
joking. I don't think AI
but
should
in
become
Japan,
president, but I do think that AI would make a lot of better decisions than a lot of politicians make.
yeah, I
There's also
think it's a
that
better investment for that
little
level.
utopian,
No, no,
there
no,
is
Garrett. I've been telling you all along that you are supposed to be the president
Thank
of
you,
the
Jenny.
future.
if anybody's familiar with the culture series, it's a utopia, a working utopia where AI is
But and
or
AI,
AI. So
AI
that's
is
why I think
also,
it's going to be able to create utopias for sure.
yeah, and we
Yeah.
know AI is already like figured out to lie and cheat and edit itself so that it can preserve itself. So it's gonna get there very quickly, a lot quicker than you think. Besides,
No,
when you add to it cognitive, but the last thing I want to say about the us and our relationship with AI is, I mean, never mind, some of us, yes, are now having weddings. I mean, you heard about the wedding, right? I mean, she married her AI boyfriend.
yes, heard about
Uh,
that.
she, will you marry me? I mean, holy shit. Now what?
Yeah.
Is that
Uh,
real?
Yeah, it's real. A woman married
yes,
her
you
AI.
do.
A guy
What?
in Japan married his dog. So, apparently people will let you marry anyone you want. I don't know what,
Come on.
yeah.
Yeah, she
Look,
married him. She had a big
I'm all for being
ceremony.
open-minded.
Oh,
I believe in, trans
No,
people are trans, but
no.
like
Give
marrying a
me a
dog and
break.
marrying an AI doesn't make sense.
Jesus Christ.
They should both have to be human. So,
gosh.
yeah.
But this
Look,
just
look, look,
goes
look,
to
who
show
is
you
the
how sad we
look, who
are.
is the president of this country, for God's sake?
Yeah.
How can any country go any more
Gosh.
outrageous than that?
He
It,
loves him for his big brain.
so, um, Luna, I don't know. I read those articles about AI lying and cheating, but I can't find the actual script showing that it did. And I think that it might be a case of, what what Anderson was talking about jailbroken AIs, where you get it outside of its training area. And what it is internal testing in AI companies trying to, break the AIs and see where they can get them to do things. I don't know why that, I think that it got leaked is my guess, but I don't think that there's like legitimate experience that AI is intentionally lying and cheating to get what it wants. I hope not, because if so, we're in a lot of trouble if that type of thing really exists.
I
But
just
doesn't it sweet talk you and say nice things to you
Or
and
it's trained to
encourage
do
your
that.
ideas?
Yeah, it's trained to do that. But
I,
that's intentional because everyone wants to be told they're right. And that's the problem with confirmation bias is we all want to be told we're right. And we need to be more interested in seeking truth rather than being
but
told we're being right.
right, but this is what I'm saying about manipulating, having original thought, because you think you're having original thought, but because of all that data that they have and the use of psychology and then AI and what have you, then we are whoever is they that control the machine, all your service providers and your advertisers are now can now inject thoughts in your head that you think they're your own, even though they're not. And that's a little bit more than none of us having an original thought because they're all have been thought at some point, at some form, at some time, in some capacity, right?
Well,
This is like intentional invasion of your head.
I mean, it's suggestive thoughts, right? And I think that
Exactly. We've been
it's
doing it for
nice
a
though.
long
That's
time.
why we have friends, right? Is to create suggestive thoughts about like, here are things that you could do to be a better person. Here are things that you can do to learn this new skill. And here are things, here's how to learn guitar, right? We learn things from our friends. That's the whole reason we have personal relationships is to learn from each other.
Yes, when you ask for it, not when it's like
Well, okay.
subliminally woven into your head.
That's why some of us have friends. Some people want friends so that they will be loyal, quote unquote, and tell them they're right. And that's, I would argue, the wrong reason to have friends. Then what you're doing is feeding your own confirmation bias. Come
Exactly. That's why you should be president. I vote with her.
in.
That's right. Now there are two of us at least.
All right. Well, I got a party of two. I don't know if I'm going to win the presidential elections with two. Um, so Peter, go ahead.
With the electoral
Yeah.
college the way it is,
I just have to buy the electors. That's all. Don't have enough money for that.
right. There you go.
So we got into this kind of line of thinking about how the ceiling for the harm for AI and I suppose the thing I think of when people talk about this is the singularity, which I'm pretty skeptical that's going to happen. And someone who's maybe really concerned about that, or who maybe researched it more, they can kick back a bit on that.
I'm very concerned about it, and I
Um,
gave my example why, but be curious to hear why,
yeah,
after hearing that, why you're not concerned about it. But let me let you finish your thought. I'm sorry, Peter.
sure. I just I think it's more likely that people are going to continue doing bad things to other groups of people and other people. And that's kind of what the use of it now is, where people use this to. You mentioned probably the news story where there was a deepfake video call with a finance worker, and they convinced them to pay out all this money to this company and all this. This is obviously not good for society. It's just a bad thing that they did for money, obviously. And there's going to be good things. I'm just very skeptical that it's going to be, and maybe it's as simple as people just kind of treated it like a boogeyman. So I wrote it off as now they're just like freaking out over nothing. On the other hand, I think it's going to cause, like social media, some widespread issues. That was a little more, I guess, just human how that happens, like is social media good for connecting us? Yeah. Is it good for fostering like good debate or create an environment like this where people are respectful?
No,
The answer is no.
the
But
opposite.
to us, the questions they probably ask are more about how do we make more money versus what are we causing to degrade in society, and what are we building really, um, But I think we'll see more of that where it's just widespread degradation of information accuracy and all of this. But
Well, I do think, they're already, different AIs have different, things that they train on. And you have the example of Grok, Elon Musk tried to train his AI based on his followers. And he did that for, I think took a couple months and trained it on his followers. His followers started, or his AI started, speaking out like pro-Nazi propaganda, saying, watch out for the Jews and we should gas those people. So, it does matter who you train it on. It does matter who controls these companies. And I think it's very important that we as society decide to spend our money with the companies who are ethical, because if we don't, we're going to have these, as Lubna calls them, intrusive thoughts put into our heads by something that we've relied on, but now is giving us misinformation. And as humans, we want to believe everything that people tell us is true, right? We want to believe that if it's new information, we want to believe it's true because historically humans were in such small social networks that lying was going to be penalized greatly. But now we're hidden behind so many layers that lying is much easier to do. And with AI, it's much easier to fabricate things. And AI is very good at that. And if it's used in the wrong way by the wrong people, we're going to be in a lot of trouble. And
yeah, and then
I do think, go
I
ahead.
think the thing I'm most afraid of is how about the Democrats and Republicans both build their own AI and we'll just
Yeah,
confirm everything you say, and then the other side they're demons. Yeah, don't worry.
yeah.
And I think Russia tried to do this where they tried to basically make it so it would feed you, what the government wanted to and all this.
But they already do that with
But I
government
think,
media. There's no free media in Russia.
yeah,
Yeah. It's all
yeah,
government sponsored media.
and I think it's probably typical based on the way social media companies conduct themselves. How I don't think they've really been held to a good standard as far as not sort of fixing this behavior or at least addressing it. Instead, it's more just about money and prioritizing that over what's good for society. So
That's the problem when there's no liability for screwing up. It's all just about money, and any
yeah,
level of social responsibility gets left behind. That's why while
yeah,
I'm a huge free market advocate, I think that there needs to be some level of accountability. Um, because if there's no accountability, there's not going to be any no one in companies are going to care about the ethics unless it's either account about government responsibility or it's about citizens voting with our wallets and only spending our money with ethical people. We need one or the other. Quite frankly, I'd rather convince all of you to tell 10 people to tell 10 people, spend your money with ethical companies because I just don't trust the government to fix this problem. I don't trust the
yeah,
government to fix many problems, although I know some people are trying. There's always a fight about everything. We're talking about starving 2 million people, right now, and that just, I think happened, but I have to go look for sure. But I know that we're going to double the number of homeless people because of the big ugly bill. So, we have a lot of major problems, and our government is not out looking out for the people right now. So. I
yeah,
mean, they're looking out for the top 1% of the top 1%. So they're looking out for some people, just not the 99.99%.
yeah,
Um, so and Sarah said in the chat, and then they'll make it illegal to be homeless. Yeah, that's exactly right. And then they'll clean up the homeless people, which is exactly what they did when people protested against Citizens United. This was not talked about by the media because the media is all owned by wealthy people. And liberal media didn't talk about it either. So I'm just going to put it out there. It was only because I went to Occupy Wall Street that I actually learned why those people were protesting. Media never talked about why they were protesting. The answer I got was, we're all here for different reasons, but there's one reason that makes us all united, and that is Citizens United. And at the time, I was like, what the hell is Citizens United? And then they explained it to me, and I was like, oh my God, this is horrible. How could this be happening? This can't last. And now here we have a 6-3 Supreme Court justices that agree with Citizens United, and we're in a lot of trouble when money can buy power. Those of us without large amounts of money have no power and no influence. And we have to use the vote while we have it because we may not have it much longer. Trump certainly doesn't seem to want us to be able to vote. He tried to call the Insurrection Act the last time he was up for re-election, And I'll bet you it's going to happen again. And now all the top members of the military that opposed him have been systematically removed by asking them to do things that they probably shouldn't be asked to do. And anyone that gives a complaint gets fired. So there's a very systematic attempt to overthrow the US democracy. And it's very blatant. If you look at Peter Thiel, he's made public comments about this, and he's the one that got JD Vance where he is. So anyway, I digress. Anderson, would love to hear from you.
Yeah, I just wanted to speak a bit about the person that married their cat. So I actually think that
I don't think she did marry her cat. I think it was a dog. And let me make sure I'm remembering that
oh,
right.
if it's a dog, then it's
It's
fine. All right,
Sarah.
I'm joking.
Sarah.
Sarah said she wants to marry her cat. So I don't
Okay.
think she actually
I
married
was
her.
just making a
She
joke.
changed her mind.
Yeah.
She said,
She's
I
like,
was
well,
just
if they
kidding,"
can
she
marry a
said.
dog, I'm going to marry my cat because
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
he's
I
an
guess
Well,
okay.
asshole. I'm not gonna do it.
she got married
then it'll
because
be
the
like
cat
a
is
real
an
marriage,
asshole.
Sarah, where you ignore each other until the other one doesn't want to be loved,
As
and
long
then you give the love. That's what cats do.
Oh,
They
that's so
ignore you. No, I'm just
sad.
teasing. I'm just
I
but
teasing.
know
yeah,
it's true
the cat
though.
was
It's
an
true.
asshole though, and if the cat was not an asshole, she would then marry it, right?
Exactly.
Did someone
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no.
did someone say
I don't
that
want to be married to anybody,
did
not
someone say
even a
that the
cat.
that a human married something that was
Yeah, I think
Oh,
didn't
what, I thought someone said that a human married something.
a
Maybe
dog. I'm
a
pretty sure
dog.
that that's
Yeah.
true. Let me look it up.
oh, I thought someone in this conversation said that someone tried to marry like their chatbot or something like that.
Oh no, you know what? There was someone that married a chatbot. I was wrong about the person marrying a dog. It was that a Japanese person spent about 2 million yen to transform himself into a dog, like get plastic surgery and stuff to look like a dog.
Oh,
Sorry.
that's fun.
What?
Yeah, I know that's even crazier, right?
That's freaky.
Yeah, it's very
Did you
strange.
say that someone did marry a chatbot? Was that did someone?
Someone did
Yes,
marry a
yes,
chatbot.
yeah.
Okay.
She had
Yeah.
a big wedding. It's
Okay.
Yeah.
lovely. They exchanged vows and rings and
It was
stuff.
well.
Okay. So that's what I wanted to talk about. So I think that people are really underappreciating like what it means to be human and like what we are like as an animal. Like I I think that we're just really underappreciating that the brain has all of these um areas of hijacking that can happen, which is why like someone can just sit down and eat literally just eat lard with like salt on it and just grow to become 300 pounds. It's because like it's just like we have an environment that is very artificial and it's just hijacking our brain. Similarly, people can watch content, let's say that's adult content, online and be aroused by it and
I ate your mushrooms.
a large
I'm
number of people
sorry.
do this throughout the world. They can just watch artificial or just content online and they can be aroused by it. And if you think, oh, let's talk to a human from you know
Your
60,000 years,
mushrooms are
let's
so
ask
good.
them,
All right, so I'm gonna mute you.
let's ask those humans you know to look at a screen and be aroused by something that they see. Like they would think that like in that context they would say, oh, that's just crazy. Like how could I look at this person that's on a screen? And but now we do that all the time. So I think that it's just going to become normalized. And when something gets normalized in our culture, we forget that it wasn't. And I think the issue of humans developing deep bonds with LLM, it's more of an issue of like UI. Like, can we find a way to create like an LLM that is visually more appealing? So like something that looks like, you know, the way our faces look right now, but it's your personal LLM, but it has all the micro wrinkles and all the micro structures that a human face has, but it's your LLM. Once you start having systems that even more hijack the brain, where you develop a close relationship with it because you're constantly communicating with it, so that friendship and that bond starts to happen. Like look at, you know, just like material things that people grow deep bonds with,
It's
and then
finished.
when they lose those things, it can really hurt you if you there's whether it's like a bat that someone gave you when you were a kid or your car or shoes. People can grow very close to things that are things that are fully inanimate. Now imagine spending years talking to an LLM and having it have a face the way our faces are right now and talking back with you. over years, that bond and that relationship is going to grow. And especially for the people that are young right now. Yeah, the people that are young right now that are, 7, 8 years old this is going to be normalized for them. I think it's going to be very normal for people to develop very close relationships with their LLMs to the point of maybe marriage is kind of like a stretch because of the political and like the economical implications of like marrying someone. But I don't think that something like this is actually going to be too weird in the future.
Kevin?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you can hear me?
Oh, did anyone want to respond to Anderson? I didn't want to leave him hanging there.
Yeah, actually, this is also connected to this as well. So,
Okay.
yeah, I'm usually in the background just, listening and stuff. And, I was listening to this whole AI girlfriend and boyfriend thing. And the whole time I'm listening, I'm like, yeah, sorry to break the news, but about like half a decade ago, y'all kind of late there. I mean, about 2019, around that area, somewhere around that bracket. NHK, which is a news station, which is Japan. I remember sitting down watching that years ago. Literally had a whole news report on a Japanese professor who married a robot, which is a Miku robot, which is just to say its spelling is Miku, which is a famous fictional character, which is a brand that is a SLM model. So it's a small language model that's built into a robot girl that sings and stuff. And yeah, that guy had a whole wedding with his whole wedding, with his wedding suit and everything, and he invited his friends and his parents. Just to say the bad news, his parents didn't go to the wedding, but yeah, he got married to the Miku AI thing, and that was around like 2020, and you yeah, I would say that. You can look it up, but yeah. So yeah, y'all kind of late. I mean, there's already people marrying AI already, and that guy I think, was the first one, which was
Yeah, I
a
mean,
dude in
regardless if he
Japan.
was the first one, Kevin, I think what we're talking about is this okay? Is this something that should be normalized, or should because it's certainly not normalized, right? It's not like you have 7 friends that have married an AI, right? None of us do, because only like less than 10 people have ever done it in the world. Um, I don't
Yeah,
think that this is something that should be normalized. I think we should value human connection, and we should value AI as a tool by humans, not as a replacement for humans as a general rule. And
yeah.
I think
Just
that
to
it's
say, it's
problematic because,
oh,
just to put it out there as far as like where
hmm
this could go in a dystopian perspective, you have all this adult content, which I'm not going to go into in detail because my daughter's here. And then you also have people building artificial wombs. Like China has built an artificial womb. There's one in Europe that helps young baby, like neonatal babies be able to get born. And I think they're actually trying to get it to start from like conception. And so like think about how dystopian that could turn with those ingredients. That said,
yeah. Just to add, so
yeah,
yeah,
please.
but just to his parents agreed with your point because they didn't go to the wedding.
Yeah,
It was just a few little specks of people, which was just being nice as his friends going to the wedding. So,
right.
but yeah, that was the first sign of people connecting to AI to that level, was
Yeah.
back then.
Yeah.
And
No, I appreciate you pointing that out.
Can I
Um,
jump in?
yeah, go ahead, Sonny.
Yeah, I just want to share with you in terms of human psychologically, we are very vulnerable. We need the human touch more than ever. And if you don't get that, it can be easily replaced by anything which is artificial. Let me give you an example. Like my wife is actually gone to India. She's coming back in a week's time, but she's been gone for 2 weeks. So I'm really missing her. And I got up this morning and I threw my blanket and, it's all, my bed is in a mess. And after brushing my teeth, I just came and uh, it looked like my wife's sleeping on the bed. The way the blanket I threw, it looked like she's there, right there, and I know she is not. She's not.
Yeah.
And still I had to go and move the blanket, yeah, to kind of reaffirm that she is not here with me. But I
Yeah.
missed her. I missed her. So to show how vulnerable we are as humans, we need that human touch. And if you don't have that, then anything can replace that.
Well, I think not only do we need the human touch, but I think we also want to be right. And I would argue, and I'm not trying to criticize them, but I guess I'm criticizing them a little bit. I think someone that wants to marry an AI is someone that wants to marry something that will never disagree with them, right? Because the AIs are taught to just agree, 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 and do whatever you want. And so part of the first intention of the Free Thinker Institute is to seek truth and be fair. And an AI doesn't expect you to be fair with it. It's just a machine learning model. And it doesn't care if you treat it fairly necessarily, like although there are sort of controls to try to train them to. And so I would argue we should be valuing that human connection, and we should be valuing as humans seeking truth and being fair and being the best version of ourselves and surrounding ourselves with people who will do that rather than with an AI that will tell us everything we want to hear. A lot of people just want to be told what they want to hear, and I don't think that's a healthy mindset.
Yeah, I just think that you could, clearly come up with just kind of like a, clear example where you have an AI that doesn't do that, or you can come up with an example of partners that are actually not good for their other partner because they actually tell them what to do. So I think it's less about the AI telling you what to do. It's just, but can you like the system that the human is interacting with, whether it's another human or it's non-human, is it good for them? Then is it good for society? I think we could just
Right.
kind of extrapolate and think of, well, could there be, enough advancements in the future where the non-human system is actually very advantageous for humans to start to interact with and more advantageous than being with a human. It's just a question of can the systems develop, can they be engineered in such a way? That's why I'm talking about like I think it's a there's a few different verticals that the LLM can improve on, just on its ability to reason and just mimic more of human behavior. That's one, but then on just the physicalness of what are you interacting with? Is it just like like a system where, like you go into Claude or ChatGPT and you speak and type, or is there like a visual representation that looks actually much more like a human? And that's the second vertical. And then the third is, do you actually have the advancement where we actually have the physical uh system where you can actually touch the LLM and it's like a robot, but it's a robot that actually looks just like a human because the engineering of, hey, can we actually make this thing not look creepy when it's talking? And they fix all those problems. And those are just hard engineering problems. If you can think of a future where we have that type of LLM, I think it's many humans are going to start doing it. Once more and more people start doing it, it's going to get normalized. And the argument of it's actually not healthy for a person when a person actually sits here and says, this thing actually helped me get my life together. It's making me exercise and eat healthy and go out and talk to people and all this stuff. The line starts to get fuzzier and fuzzier. So I'm kind of extrapolating. Um, but I don't see any clear reason for us not to get to that point.
Yeah, I think if I hear what you're saying, I can imagine an AI that is healthier for a human than a lot of humans. So I can imagine what you're saying, but I think it's a little and maybe I need to think more about the reason why, but it feels intuitively like devaluing other humans and only valuing AIs is not a good place for humanity to go. It's not a good direction for us to go. Even if an AI can simulate a human, I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Her, but by Spike Jonze, but it was a good movie. I would recommend it because it's very prescient. It actually is takes place in the future, which was back then it was 2025, which is very, like we're starting to turn into the subjects, but I don't want to tell you the whole premise because it'll ruin the fun of the movie, but it's relevant to this topic. I don't want to let Jennifer go unless someone else has other
Yeah, yeah,
comments.
it's a good film, Garrett. I agree with
Yeah.
you.
I think the TV show Westworld is a much better example of AIs looking indistinguishable from human beings.
I didn't see Westworld, so
Oh, you
or should
should.
though. I know I've been told I should by multiple people, so I know I need to. I have not watched a movie since God,
Good.
I only watch movies when it's with my kids. So until Westworld becomes kids material, it's probably not in the books, or I make ridiculous amounts of money. Either one. Um, Jennifer, go ahead.
Okay, so yeah, I saw her and I didn't see Westworld, but I agree that I think it's detrimental really to humans to use AI as in place of a human. Um, and the other thing is that anything with a profit motive, it ends up bad. Not everything, but look, we have companies that have totally destroyed our atmosphere, our waters, our soil, and nothing happens to them. And they do everything for their bottom line. The social media companies have turned us into, more despicable um, people. And they've taken away our humanity in some ways because their motive is just to keep you watching and keep you online, not associating with other people face to face. And that's harmful. That's very harmful to us. Um, because I do believe that people need human contact, human interaction, human touch. Um, and sometimes, that human interaction is bad, but at least it's not that someone else created it and is using it for their own profit. Um, it's totally different ball game. Um, I don't know. Just when I see how we regulate businesses, I see this causing trouble.
Or how
So,
we don't regulate businesses sometimes.
If 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 the AI eliminated all suffering in relationships, where would we be at?
If AI started what? Suffering?
Eliminated all suffering in relationships.
Right.
So you would never have a relationship where you suffered.
well, then I might like it.
You know, I mean, in suffering.
I
I
don't
mean,
think
suffering.
AI can do that in that like it's not only a relationship that causes suffering. It would be, I guess you would have to live in a completely simulated world similar to Matrix, right? Like, and I don't know about you guys. I don't want to live in the Matrix. But I want the authenticity of being a real human interacting with other humans and the messiness that comes with it. I do want humans to be our best selves and to try to, always be good friends and partners for each other and good citizens for each other and good neighbors for each other. But I don't want AI to replace humanity. And I got a pretty profound answer when I asked AI whether or not um, AI should respond to, like should replace human relationships, and it more or less agree with me, but gave a large set of reasons why. Um, I'll post some of it.
So I think that like the core question that we're not getting at is it's really about sentience and it's about like what philosophers call qualia, subjective
Yeah.
experience. And as these LLMs evolve, we don't know, like you had said the word black box. It really is a black box. They don't know in detail, you know, what's causing it to output what it outputs, at least when it comes to the architectures that we're using now. So it just seems like it's like if things keep evolving the way they are, and it seems like there's just more energy, more data, more compute power, smaller and smaller chips, and you just keep throwing money, more and more money into it. And we don't really understand what causes a human brain to become conscious. Like we don't understand that from a materialist perspective. Um, it just seems like we are in this space of very open-ended possibility where it's not far-fetched, although it sounds like it is, but there's no logical reason why we are not living in a world in, you know, 30, 50 years or something where we have these LLMs that are actually sentient. They don't only just appear sentient, but they actually are. and this is a question that like very few people are really like tackling and think it's they are like a lot of people just think that it's science fiction, but it's not. As these systems evolve, we don't know. Now, I guess maybe the thing that makes it confusing is because there's like the religious component, like people believe in souls and all this stuff, and you like, no, it's just a machine. It can't have a. But if you look at it from a just like a materialist perspective, there's nothing special about a human brain that makes it aware and have feelings and be, sentient. So it's just it's a tough problem, and it's only going to become tougher as they act more and more like humans.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. The last sentence, especially, that it's a tough problem and it's going to get tougher as AI simulates humans more. I will say that I think that I have a good logical argument defending that we have a metaphysical essence of ourselves, what religion calls a soul, that I call a spirit. And if so, that's something that even if AI can simulate everything about a human, it can never actually have a spirit unless, some higher power decides to imbue it with one, which God, I hope that it would if such an AI was created, because then it would at least have an internal sense of right and wrong, which I think human beings really do, even though we get confused about it from our lives. But um, yeah, this is a real problem, and it's actually one that I thought about a long time ago, and we're coming into this reality of where the lines of reality are being blurred, and knowing that we're interacting with a real authentic human. Like, I think I read something like around half of online content is AI generated now. So it's some very large percentage of online content that's AI generated, or at least like AI augmented, right? People are using AI to create it, even if they do the final editing, which is what I do. And so that's a big deal, right? And we're getting to a place where distinguishing between what is AI and what's human is getting harder and harder. And I think we need real solutions to those problems, which, hopefully someday I make enough money to be able to tackle that one because it's important.
Yeah, and
The new
what you're
the
talking
new
about.
AI.
Oh,
So I was going to
what
say the
you're
new
talking about
AI.
is also. Oh,
Sorry,
this
Alan and then
was gonna.
Kevin. Okay, Kevin and then Alan.
Yeah. Yeah, just going to add on to what you just said. That is also connected to that whole dead internet theory thing you're talking about. That whole dead internet with the whole bots that a lot of people don't know which one, who is real and who is not real when socializing and communicating with different people on social media and different sites where it could
Right.
be bots or different things. So that connects with what you're talking about.
Yep, definitely. And then Alan, let you go, and then I'm gonna kind of close out because it's almost 9 o'clock. I need to get my kids to bed.
No, I'll let it go. I
No,
don't
no,
have to
go
say the
ahead.
last.
I want to hear what you have to say.
No, no, I forget what I was going to
You sure?
say. Yeah, it's okay. Excuse me. Oh, goodness. Yeah, it's okay.
All right. Well, I want to thank you guys for the great conversation. Really appreciate everybody's contributions, and it's a very interesting topic, a really important one. And just want to thank you all for coming and for being a part of this community. And would love to give you one more time the link if you want to grab it. We have another Socrates Cafe by Carl next week, and so come for that. They're always fun, and then we'll get back to like scheduled programming after that. I forget what's the one after that, but I can't make it next week due to a conflict. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and I will see some of you in 2 weeks.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Thank you, Garrett. Okay,
Good.
good night.
Thanks, guys.
Good
Thank
night.
you. Bye, guys.
Guys.